I recently hosted a live workshop with my friend Jeremiah Lancaster, who is the founding partner with me of the sales coaching business called hubermethod.com. We did a live workshop. We had over 400 people live in a Zoom room where we discussed sales, how to close, how to gain trust, our 6-step method. And it was a really great webinar. I hope you enjoy. We're going to play it right here live for you. And if you want to reach out to Jeremiah, go to hubermethod.com. Thanks for listening.
That journey that you had of raising capital is something that probably resonates with a lot of people here. Can you help me understand, what was that like, raising capital for your first deal?
Yeah. So it was the classic sales experience. I was reaching out to everybody in my network who had any money at all, or I thought they had any money at all. And I was going kitchen table to kitchen table and sitting down, trying to get these people to raise capital. And I learned pretty quickly that when it comes to selling high ticket items and anything in general in today's world, the old school pushy sales techniques did not work for me. I would spend if we had a 45-minute meeting scheduled, I would spend 35 minutes talking about all the good things. And we were raising money for self-storage deals. We were trying to get people to invest as passive investors into self-storage deals. I'd spend the first 30, 45 minutes of these calls talking about all of the good things, why they should invest in storage, why it's such a good asset class, why we're such good operators. And it just didn't resonate. And I've kind of developed a total mindset shift when it comes to selling. And it's kind of more nowadays about, showing these folks that are in front of me that I mean business and that I can be trusted. And you don't do that by telling them how a real estate deal is going to be a home run and how it's going to be risk-free and how it's going to be perfect and why we're the best in the world at what we do. You do it by showing people that you're, thinking about some of these harder things. So I kind of started to shift these capital raising calls to, hey, look, the real estate market is really risky, because we're tied to interest rates. We can't control interest rates. We don't know the housing velocity when people are buying and selling homes. That's a huge driver of who rents units. There's things in this market that we can't control. This is what we're worried about. This 5-year deal horizon that we've outlaid here, it could turn into a 10-year deal where you're stuck with us. We could underperform if interest rates go up and we got to pay more for our debt service. And I realized that as I talked about the negatives, what makes this stuff hard and what I'm worried about, people were trusting. Like they could look at me and say, wow, this guy's worried about the things that he should be worried about. And I'm going to, trust him with my capital. A lot of these people were in wealth preservation mode instead of wealth building mode. We can talk about kind of figuring out what matters to individual people, but yeah, it was a simple shift of stop doing the old school pushy sales techniques and start just showing people that I'm worried about the stuff that I should be worried about and why I can be trusted and how, and it turns out that trust is the number one thing that people care about when they're investing capital in real estate. So it was a big learning lesson for me. So yeah, I spent 2 years at 100 plus kitchen tables and raised very little cash. And now you fast forward to today, we the word got out, who we knew increased, and I switched my tactics, and we've raised $40+ million and bought over $100 million worth of real estate.
It seems so counterintuitive to tell people maybe all the negatives. Why do you think that works so well? Why do you think that builds so much trust with people?
I think they're just used to being sold. Like every part of every day, we are told why we should buy something and all the benefits that are going to come when we buy something. They're just not used to it. They're caught off guard when you really outline and lay out the negatives. So let's pop right into this slideshow. We're not gonna do this the entire time, but I'm going to share my screen right now and kind of talk about our methodology so that people can have a breakdown of exactly kind of how we think about this stuff. And it's really a 6-step system that when you're going into a sales interaction, this is how you're going to structure it. And this is how you're going to think about it. Number one, and let's elaborate on each of these things, Jeremiah, because they're so important. Number one is you have to operate from a point of leverage. I was going into these calls with a mindset of desperation. Like I have to have this capital. Like at the end of the call, I was like, will you invest? Like, let's get this going. I need it. We can't raise the rest of the capital. And they kind of knew that I needed them more than they needed me. And there was just no sense of urgency. There was no, reverse leverage at all in this deal. So I had to go out and change my mindset of operating from a point of leverage. Every sale that I get on, and now in any environment that I'm in, I don't necessarily need to make this sale. My business is going to be just fine. I'm going to be okay. And that mindset shift alone made it so that kind of people want what they can't have, and almost wanted to work with me even more.
And I think this just kind of speaks to human nature. Like, people love to buy, but they hate being sold to. That moment that you get that inbound call, you're expecting it to be, your car warranty or, some other thing like that. And you're immediately turned off. Your mind goes into kind of, this is a sales push. I'm not going to have this conversation. But whenever you operate from that point of leverage and know that, like, this one sale is not going to ruin my entire quarter, it's not going to ruin my entire business, that really sets you up to be in a position of power. And I think that also sets you up in a position of respect. People want to work with people that they respect. They don't want to work with people that feel desperate, that they need their business to actually run it the next day. So I think it's a super critical that even if you don't, even if this sale is super critical, if you act like it, you will not win the deal.
Yeah. So every call I got on, it was 5 minutes before the Zoom call. I had done my discovery, which we're going to talk about. I just told myself, Nick, you don't need this sale. If this person doesn't invest, or this seller doesn't sell you their storage facility, or this employee doesn't come to work for you, life will go on. You're going to be just fine. And that mindset shift before the call, boom, going into it was step number one. Now, as soon as I'm on the call, now we're on the sales call, I have 5 minutes or less on an investor call to show that I'm an expert and show that I can, and to tell people what I've done. Most people are very afraid to brag on themselves. They'll tell their life story, they'll talk about the personal things, but they will not brag on the size of their business and the size of their team and what they're doing. And so many people, when they're buying, all they want is reputation, and who you're working with, how big your company is so important. The perfect example of this is when I spent the second half of, every week cold calling self-storage owners. I was literally on the phone trying to get owners to sell to me. So I was in a selling environment. I was selling myself and my company to try to get these owners to answer the call and actually sell their storage facility to me. And I had 8 seconds on the phone to prove that I'm worth talking to and that I should be trusted, or at least, not hung up on. So I had 8 seconds to say, hey, this is Nick Huber. I own 63 self-storage facilities. We manage 1.9 million square feet. I know you have a property right here in Shippenville, PA. I just wanted to let you know that I own a property in the county over in Clarion, PA, and we're buying aggressively. We're paying top dollar. I'd love to give you an offer for your property. Boom. Instantly, right now, they know that I'm a big deal. I didn't necessarily brag on myself. I didn't, lie. I didn't do anything different. I just, boom, instantly showed that I have credibility. And that was huge.
Yeah, I think to your point about people not wanting to brag about themselves, I do think that this is a common challenge that most people, have an issue with whenever they call people. People want to know why you're calling. They also want to know what's in it for me. And if they're not talking to someone that's qualified or even has the ability to actually purchase that property, they're not going to want to have the conversation. And I think that if you're not able to do that in a very short amount of time, you're going to lose interest and you're going to start to see people fall away from you. So I think it's really critical that you land that pitch on what you're doing and why, that you establish that credibility up front. If you don't prove that you're an expert, the likelihood that you're going to close that call is close to none.
Yeah, and I think this can be applied across any industry. Yep. We own a performance marketing agency called AdRhino, where we're doing pay-per-click marketing. And at the very beginning, the first 2 minutes of the call, it is on the script that we say, hey, I am Nick. I work at AdRhino. We manage over $200,000 a month of ad spend. We've done this many, Google Analytics 4 conversions. We've seen, we've worked with companies like X, Y, and Z, and this is why we can be trusted. That is instantly laying the groundwork of why should I trust these people? Are they legitimate? So that's step 2. Number 3. So we told them why we can be trusted and who we are. Now, this is what is going to go against every old school sales tactic that you've ever seen or heard of. And you're going to talk about the negatives. Just like I discussed on my calls with, investors, you're going to talk about the negatives with the person who's on the call with you and talk about what makes it hard, what scares you, why there might be delays, why there might be scheduling problems. I have a great I have two friends in town, and this is it turns into a parable over time, but I have two guys in town, play golf with both of them, and they both run general contracting companies, and they both sell houses or like build houses. So they're selling services to build somebody a custom home. There's two sales tactics that happen. Number one, this guy's overpromising on the schedule. He's overpromising on how the house will look. He's overpromising on the price. He's talking about how amazing the home will look. He's talking about all the things that he can do. And he's setting himself up for, okay, yeah, wow, that sounded amazing. But A, he's setting himself up for a ton of stress when it comes time to deliver. But person number two, my other buddy, goes into these sales calls and say, look, I can promise you that I'm going to treat this entire process with integrity. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to control cost, because that's a huge problem in our business is the cost overruns. We have change orders. I know you're going to have some change orders. This is how things happen. But this stuff is hard. We can't control the weather. We can't control these 4 other suppliers that we have. I have contractors that have other jobs. I promise you that I'm going to lose sleep over your schedule. I'm worried about it. We might not come in on time. I'll tell you that right now. We might not come in on budget. I'll tell you that right now. But this is why it's hard, and this is what I'm worried about, and this is why, you can trust me, because I'm thinking about these things and I'm worried about them. You would be amazed at how often friend number 2 closes deals and makes more money, and friend number 1 closes the deals on the needy customers. The customers have unreasonable expectations, and delivery, his entire business starts to suffer from there. So when you flip this, you flip the trajectory of the call from, hey, this is why everything's amazing, to, hey, this is what you need to worry about, your world really opens up and you really gain trust with people. It's an unbelievable thing.
Big news, guys. I created a free PDF that details my method on how I analyze a self-storage facility and figure out what it's worth. Give me a pen, the back of a napkin, and a couple metrics, and I can figure out about what the property is going to be worth to me. If you want to download this PDF, click in the show notes, the first link, and you can give me your email address, and you get a email right away with 4-page PDF that outlines exactly how I think about underwriting or giving my initial analysis on a self-storage facility. Again, click the link in the show notes, and you're going to get that document for free. This episode of The Nick Huber Show is brought to you by RE Cost Seg. If you want to maximize your bonus depreciation and minimize your tax liability, make sure to do a cost segregation study on real estate you've recently acquired. RE Cost Seg offers the lowest priced, fully engineered studies in the business, and you get a virtual site visit with a quick turnaround. They did 30 plus cost seg studies for me over the past year, including a short-term rental, along with my self-storage facilities. And I'm also an investor in the business, along with my good friend and CPA, Mitchell Baldridge, who you all know. To learn more about how bonus depreciation works, listen to episode 75 of The Nick Huber Show, or visit recostseg.com to go ahead and get a free proposal that outlines the cost of the study and your potential savings. Thanks again, recostseg.com.